Hello and welcome to the Human Frequency Special Report. I am Gabe and I am joined by my co-host Sharon.
We're very excited to bring you new information about the energetic war in California and now also in Oregon. We just got back about a month ago from a trip to Oregon where we distributed 500 tower busters. And you can hear all about this trip in our episode called Gabe and Sharon's Excellent Adventure. We tower busted Oregon like crazy. We did about 200 towers in Portland. So about 200 cell towers in Portland are now neutralized. We did the whole Oregon coast, not all the way up to Astoria, but from Cannon Beach down. And so now the entire coastline of the West Coast is covered from Cannon Beach to Los Angeles. So we still have some areas to do, but we sure took down the frequency fence in a lot of places.
And a lot in Northern California too, which is hit very hard by the geoengineers and the parasites in this ongoing weather war, which is entering a really climactic stage now. So there's a lot going on, and that's why we're here, to bring you guys updates of what's going on and all the latest news in the weather war.
So after we got back from Oregon, we were pretty spent energetically because doing planetary healing on that scale is exhausting. And a lot of times the healers forget to heal themselves. So we came back, we were exhausted, we tried to rest up, but we didn't really have that much time to rest because we work really hard. And I have to remind myself of Rainbow Thunderheart, who healed the drought situation in Big Bear back in the mid-2000s and stopped the Yellowstone supervolcano from erupting through his ceremonial work. He wore himself out to the point where he died of cancer earlier this year. And his work was so amazing and huge on such a grand scale, healing this earth. But at the same time, it took so much out of him that he wound up succumbing to illness. And so I noticed the same things happen to both of us, both me and Gabe, when we're working this hard. So we had to take some time out to try to recover. It's very hard to do when you're looking around you and seeing chemtrail spraying all the time and you think, well, I got to do something about this. But you do have to take some time out or else you become an ineffective planetary healer.
Yeah, and Bovido only lived to be in his mid-60s, so this really brings to mind the importance of taking time for yourself to heal, because the parasites will focus on whatever the weak point is. And of course that differs with every individual, but they will find that and they will try and exploit it, throw you off your game, try and get you to give up and to make it seem hopeless and fruitless, and that's their MO. And knowing this in advance helps you to be a more effective fighter, not just of the weather war, but battling their tactics to subvert you and sabotage you.
They will want to make it look like your Organite's not working. So when you gift, you're going to notice a much higher concentration of chemtrail activity where you live. They're going to hit extra hard when you gift. They're going to make you feel like your Organite's not working, but it is working, because if it wasn't working, we'd all be dead now. Not being over dramatic, but this stuff is deadly. I just wanted to share something that I read in the core volume. This is called Cosmic Orgone Engineering by Wilhelm Reich, and his crew, his staff, contributed to this publication in 1955. And on Monday, I was experiencing these effects of illness, and I was reading this book at the same time, and the book described the illness I was experiencing.
Well, we were both experiencing this, and we've experienced it before, but reading this passage really highlights what's going on, and it completely removes that feeling of, am I going crazy? Is this just all in my mind? It's not. These are tangible effects that, go ahead and read that part. It's very important.
Okay, so the early effects of DOR sickness, and this is what we were talking about. We call this deadly orgone radiation. That is the opposite of the life-giving orgone, and nowadays it comes mostly in the form of EMF. So here's what Wilhelm Reich had to say about this. Early effects. A DOR-contaminated atmosphere will very early evoke an indefinite feeling of illness or malaise, which is all the more prominent and more rapidly felt the more sensitive, bioenergetically, the more highly charged the organism is. Later, with increasing sensitization, proximity to high-voltage equipment, generators, transmitters, X-ray equipment, and nuclear radiation sources may become intolerable. Also, in this early phase, nausea increasing to the point of vomiting is a frequent symptom. Fatigue is complained of, also muscular aches and pains, particularly in the occipital, shoulder, and intercostal regions. Thirst, conjunctival irritation, pressure sensations in the head and chest, pallor alternating at times with hot flashes, vertigo, and mottling of the skin, particularly the palms. So on Monday, we were hit extra hard with a DOR attack, and it was very, very obvious. And you could see it in the sky, you could feel it in your body. And I was reading about this, and it confirmed the symptoms I was feeling. It's important that we understand that a lot of the symptoms we're having are energetic and can be fought energetically.
And furthermore, EMF sensitivity or hypersensitivity is often regarded as being detrimental to us, but actually, Sharon, you had a very interesting point that perhaps it's not, but rather it's beneficial because we are able to start noticing what's going on rather than being oblivious. And from that point, we can start taking active steps to remove the toxic sources from our own homes because, as you mentioned many times in the past, we've been fooled.
Yes, we have been, and we have these energy weapons in our own homes in the form of cell phones, wireless internet, and many other sources. And being sensitive is actually not a liability, but it's an advantage because we're all being harmed. But if you're sensitive, you at least know, you could feel it, and then you can take action. And today, we are going to be talking with our correspondent in Portland, Oregon, Holly Marie. And she's going to give us some insights into the happenings going on up in Oregon since this massive gifting.
Yes.
So we're very excited.
And on the subject of taking action, she has really taken charge up in her area, and we're very excited to talk about some of these new developments with her.
So let's bring in Holly. Hey, Holly, how's it going up there in Portland?
Well, we are getting a lot of snow right now, Sharon. In fact, my car is stuck at the bottom of the road.
Well, I hope you can manage to extract it when the snow stops, if the snow stops.
I don't know if snow is natural up there. That's what I've been trying to figure out. Ever since we did this big gifting, the weather has been kind of crazy up there. I've been watching you guys, and it's nuts. I've never seen that kind of snow.
I think it was last Thursday they closed the school because it was going to snow, but it was a light dusting. But today, I mean, we've probably gotten 2 or 3 inches very, very quickly. Everybody's slipping and sliding on the road. I was losing traction. They don't gravel, and it's mayhem. It's great though.
I just don't think they're ready for it. I mean, I lived in Portland for 8.5 years, so I calculated the time there, and I've been saying 8 years, but I literally was there 8.5 years. So I saw many, many winters and summers. And in the time I was there, snow was very unusual until my last winter, which was '08 through '09. And that one was crazy. We had feet of snow. We were completely snowed in. So I don't know if this is natural or not.
I have a feeling it is because the quantity of orgonite that we distributed in our last trip up there, it does restabilize the weather. If it doesn't just cause erratic weather to be formed, and that's a common misconception about orgone energy, is that when Reich was using the cloudbuster, that it would create crazy weather in certain patches and catch people by surprise. But as far as orgonite is concerned, that is not the case. There are no drawbacks and there are no dangers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's supposed to be stabilizing. So I'm wondering, Holly, what have you been seeing since it's been about a month since we gifted up there, and now you've been doing gifting too. Can you tell us a little bit about your experiences gifting in Oregon and what you've seen as far as changes in the weather and atmosphere?
So yeah, I have to say that the gifting it's a really awesome experience. You know, and I've taken my son with me, and we even had to get out at one point and walk down this bike trail to get to the tower to bust. So that's been a really deep experience to actually be a part of restoring the weather. So that's been amazing. But what I've really noticed is the flat gray sky, which I'm new to the area, so I had nothing to compare it to. But now when it's overcast, you can see the difference. You can see the cloud structures within the gray. That has completely changed. You also said that we would get rain and blue sky. You know, like the clouds would roll in, it would rain, and then the sun would come in.
Right.
That is exactly what has been happening.
Awesome, awesome.
You called it.
I'm really. I thought it would, but we're trying this in different climates, and we had never done it in the kind of rainforest climate of Oregon, which is just very mossy, green, lots of moisture. We have been working in desert climates and in Southern California, and it's really nice to see that in a different climate, we're having these same great results.
Well, obviously, when we say rainforest, we mean temperate forests, not
Right.
not
Not
tropical,
tropical,
forests.
but-
But Sharon's right. We've done
Right.
every other area. We've done deserts. We've done mountains, and we're living in the mountains now. We've done like flat urban areas, valleys. We've really coastal regions. We've done virtually every type of terrain there is in this area, and they've all yielded pretty much the same results. And I say this all the time, that there is no such thing as proof. There is only evidence. But I do believe this has been quite a body of evidence we have amassed, and I can only see it getting more substantial from here on
Yeah,
out.
it's very exciting to hear because in the years I lived in Portland, I experienced the same thing you mentioned, the flat gray sky and what I called the low ceiling, which I didn't even know what I was talking about back then. It was the low ceiling of the frequency fence, but I just felt some kind of weirdness, like energetically, like I was being squashed. So anyways,
Yes.
exciting to hear about the changes.
Well, okay, since you moved out, I had friends move up here, I think 2011. And then, I came up this year, just a few months ago. Their children have said that it's only snowed and stuck about one time. So to have this, I mean, people were literally like sliding off the road. It was incredible because they don't gravel. And you're right, Portland's not equipped with it. But is what I've also noticed, despite that it's December, we just came out of November, since the gifting, the sun is coming through. There's blue sky. So even when it's storming out, we'll get that small window of blue sky and sun, and it might close up really quick, but we did not have that before the gifting.
But
That's
it's
great.
not. But it's not that flat gray
Right.
that
No.
is referred to as a low ceiling.
Oh, that's what I refer to it as. So what are the clouds like now?
They're big and white. The cumulus clouds are really nice. And then when it is gray, though, it's not the flat. You can see the different dimensions within the
Yeah.
clouds, which is
There's
really nice.
There's
So
definition there. It's like it's three-dimensional, not just a two-dimensional flat thing going on.
yes, yes. And I haven't been out as much as I probably should have, but I can tell you that the people here, compared to where I came from, where there was no gifting, they just seem happier, more optimistic, less stressed out.
Yeah, that's
So-
something that we've noticed. It's not just weather changes that we document. We document the reaction of
Yes.
the people around, if we can, if we're there long enough to
Yeah.
be able to note
Yeah.
that.
Going back to for a return trip is nice. When you've gifted an area, you've seen the before, then you come back and see the after. We've seen remarkable changes in Bakersfield, which is the most DORized place I've seen in California and had the most towers I'd seen until we went to Oregon. I have never seen so many cell towers in my life as you guys have up in Portland. I was living there, and I think I was living there during the time when they were being installed. So, I moved there in 2001, and that was the sort of the infancy of the cell phone and era, and ever since then, it's gotten more increased. And I've also been thinking a little more about the nuclear radiation issue that you have up there
yeah.
because of the decommissioned power plant up there. It's the Trojan plant, I think. And when I lived in Oregon, they weren't using the nuclear power anymore, but the plant was still there. And it was ominous just seeing it there when you go by, especially up the 5 freeway into Washington, you'd see it across the river, and it's just like an ominous sight. And that radiation has really affected the environment up there. I didn't even realize how much, but it is pretty dangerous. And we were talking about Wilhelm Reich earlier. His experience was more with the A-bomb tests because it was the 1950s. So they didn't have the cell towers back then, but they had the nuclear radiation. So we're looking at radiations that are just completely incompatible with human life.
Just different types, but they have changed over the past 60 years, but still just as toxic and just as deadly.
Yeah. Yeah, could you tell us a little bit about your experience with gifting? You're a new gifter, but you've already done quite a lot of work.
Yeah.
So I'd love it if you would share what you did following our gifting in Portland. I know you went all out too, and you started tossing.
I did. And there's just, you know, I, I really had an enjoyable time when I rode with you and Gabe and you guys were gifting. But then to actually do it, you feel like you're just creating this harmonic balance back into the environment. But there's like this edge about it. I mean, there's this whole other feeling that comes with it that it's like you're bringing justice back.
Hmm.
And so it was really exciting. It's hard to put into words, but it did feel very spiritual, like you said. It felt like we're one gift at a time. You're helping bring back the planetary healing.
Right.
And
That's right.
Yeah.
that's what really made a big deal to me. It's bringing back the planet one gift at a time. And I have seen so much less geoengineering since you've gifted. There has been some, but it's been so much less. And it was just an amazing experience, but I still see more. I still see more and more towers. So there is more work to do.
Oh, yeah.
There always is, and we have a gifting document, sort of a 101 for noobs that that we give to
Yes.
them, and we explain that you're always going to see towers, and don't get the key is don't get frustrated if there are towers you can't get to, or if you're running out of daylight like we did, and they're more and more to be done. You have to wait, and you'll get them another time, because there's always more gifting to be done. There's always more towers. And yeah, that's interesting you mentioned that you're seeing less geoengineering, because as we talk about on our show, the geoengineering in the skies, it can't stick without the positive ionizing effect of the cell tower arrays, but also there's the fact that it's just a manifestation of what's going on elsewhere.
Oh, it is. I mean, when you're seeing chemtrails in the sky, be assured that there's some bad energy going around. I mean, it's really a hologram. That's what I'm starting to realize, is that what we're seeing up there is really just a 3D hologram of an energetic level of warfare. And it's a warfare on us, but I can be happy talking about it because I know that we have the tools we need to clean this up and end it and to protect ourselves. It's just we have to be brave. And that's the hard part, is for people to be brave and to be in their power.
Yeah.
And I think, Holly, you're a really good person to help people with this, because you work on clearing trauma in individuals, and now you're taking it to the next level into planetary healing. I just want to
I see you're chuckling.
well, I want to get your advice for gifters and people who are in planetary healing in general. How do we cope with doing this incredible work while we're still dealing with healing ourselves?
And I'm interested to see if your advice mirrors our advice that we give to those same
Yeah.
people.
I would say that since we are all one consciousness, as we are going through our healing process, we are alleviating I call it the negative emotion grid. And so as you gift, if it's a hologram, just expressing itself above, as you gift, are we not also healing ourselves? Because I have seen them spray a couple times, but it's not sticking. It's not sticking.
Because it can't.
So I would,
It physically can't.
yes, it's amazing to see. It's just mind blowing to see. So I would say that if somebody is doing this healing work on themselves and on the planet, there's really no separation.
Mhm.
We're
Yeah,
the war.
we spent so
ahead.
long in the chemtrail doldrums
Yeah.
of having those feelings of fear and helplessness and all of the stuff that all of the anti-chemtrail or anti-geoengineering groups keep. They're designed to keep everyone in that state.
Yeah.
And the tricky part about organite gifting is it's really really any description can't truly do it justice. It's just something that you sense, like you were talking about, Holly, just the feeling of doing one after another after another. You can feel the grid just being lifted more and more with each tower that you neutralize. And that's really only something that you can truly grasp once you try it for yourself. And that's what we spend a bulk of our time trying to encourage people to do.
That's interesting because you're right. The empowerment that I felt by being able to gift a tower or a tower buster, the empowerment that I felt that I could actually do something is really kind of pulling you out of that self-healing, I just got to work on myself. And it expands your vision into a completely larger awareness. Because you're not just doing it for yourself now. You are doing it for not just your fellow humans. You're doing it for the animals, the water, which represents our emotions. You could just keep on going. The trees, the plant life, on and on.
And it completely dissolves the fear. And that's why Wilhelm Reich was suppressed. That's why the suppression of his work continues to this day, some 60 years later. Yeah. It's still just as strong. I mean, obviously they're not burning books and raiding laboratories and destroying stuff, but the suppression that we know of. But I wouldn't doubt that it's happening somewhere. But no, the suppression is still there. It's just channeled a little differently now. Now it's come in the forms of those misinforming groups that are just there to divert people's attention away from the solution, which is exactly what it is. And I'm not going to mention any names because we do that. We do that on every other show.
Yeah, we do that a lot. And actually, I'm going to stop doing that because the thing is that if someone's giving the wrong information, it doesn't matter if they're doing it on purpose or they just don't know. It's wrong information, so let's just not pay attention to it and let's go on with the right information. And Wilhelm Reich was very highly suppressed, and he knew about the weather modification already. He figured this out late in his work. The other thing he figured out was that diseases are energetic, and what I'm reading now is he didn't really subscribe to the germ theory so much, is that the germ is just an irritant, but the energetic health of the organism is what's going to determine whether it succumbs to illness or can be healthy. We're really dealing with everything being energetic, everything. And so we're seeing healing ourselves and healing our earth and the atmosphere of the earth as all the same thing.
And that's also causing the mainstream medical industry that has built virtually its entire foundation on these theories that are now being proven to be incorrect. It's starting to crumble. And that's really irreversible at this point.
Yeah.
And I feel if we can keep gifting that all of these negative power structures will continue to crumble. And I did gift my son's school.
Awesome.
Great.
And he was with me. Yeah, I gifted
great.
his school. And we're just going to keep going.
That's what you have to do. Like you said, there's always new terrain to cover. There's always towers. And you will start to see that more and more is the people getting a lot calmer and weather starting to normalize and stabilize.
Yeah, tell me if the bicyclists in Portland stopped kicking in the sides of cars and yelling at motorists. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see a little change there because I think Portland's kind of aggro. That's been my impression. And then with the Trump protests that happened while we were there, I mean, so much needless aggravation and aggression,
right?
Really over nothing.
I need to just take a minute to just tell people it doesn't matter. It is completely irrelevant. The whole political process, including what we've seen in the last month and a half, is just a complete fallacy. It's an illusion. It doesn't exist.
It's going to be hard for people to swallow that one. But,
it will be, but as soon as they do, they can start to realize that this stuff isn't important. What's important is healing our world, healing our lives, getting the sources of toxicity out of our homes, the ones that we've taken in. We've taken the bait, and we need to remove them. Otherwise, it's just going to be the same nonsense over and over again.
Well, when we take back... Yeah, go on, Holly.
I would say that the whole political circus is a huge metaphor of how we give up our power and we look for these external sources to either blame or to follow. And it's like, you know what? It's it's a projection of how powerless we actually are. And you're right, it doesn't matter. We are the ones that matter, and is all we have to do is clean up our own stuff and clean up the environment around us, and it is a ripple effect. And we will become more empowered just by doing that.
Well,
Stop looking for the external stuff.
Exactly.
and we're already seeing that. And Organite Gifting is one of the best ways to see that in your community, because those towers, that's just heaping more toxicity upon what's already there. And once that is just sort of quieted, then people start to think a little more rationally and can start solving some of these problems rather than just playing the victim card.
The towers are so much about mind
Right.
control too. I mean, when you're in that impaired state of health, you're not able to really have control of your own mind. Plus, the frequencies themselves are changing the way that we think, and we have thoughts that aren't our own. And I even had some this last week because I left the iPhone unwrapped. We have an iPhone that we use only when we travel, as you know. We use a landline at home, but I went out down into town, and I had it on, and I forgot to wrap it in foil again when I got back home. And you can't believe the nightmares I was having and the horrible sleep. And I thought, what the heck is going on here? And then I realized when we left the house again a week later that the phone had been unwrapped all week.
And as soon
Usually
as,
we wrap it in foil. So
as
that
soon as we
don't,
rewrapped it,
then the
that-
nightmares went away. So these electromagnetic fields really affect the way we think. And I do want to also just mention that the last time that we had you on our show, we've had you on our show twice, and your name was different, and your name has changed now. It's not that it has changed, but you're now the real living woman that you've always been. Just like Gabriel and I, we're all living men and women, and just so to avoid any confusion of our listeners who have enjoyed you on our show before, would you just give an introduction to your reborn self?
Well, I was formerly Holly Cook Corporation, bound by my birth certificate, and now I filed the ANC, so I'm Holly Marie. And the weirdest thing happened after I did that is I had this, I felt really alone. Like I felt extracted from the community for a little bit. But it's amazing. I mean, it's so weird how a piece of paper can mean so much, because I feel so free. I'm still learning. I'm not gonna lie. I'm still learning it. But the funniest thing happened, my car got towed. And so I'm going to have my first court appearance, which I will talk to you about. Yes. I will talk to you about offline so I get it straight. But all the parking signs, it was a total scam. They were below the bumpers of the cars, and the lot was full, and we took my kid to see Santa. I get towed, and I'm like, oh, this is really good, because the integrity that we have to be in is I'm not going to court to get the $280 back that it cost me. Well, it cost my husband. I'm going to court to make it I'm going to court to make it right for the rest of the people who could get towed. And it just put a whole different spin on it, almost like a responsibility for liberating humans into what's really right.
It's so awesome, Holly. And I'm glad that you have such a great attitude about going to court, because we really don't want to have to go to court. But when you are in court now, you're merely representing that business entity whose car was towed, because it's not your car. And what the state has done is unjust enrichment. They have extracted currency from you, and it's unjustified, because this is the car belongs to your business entity, and the currency belongs to your business entity, and your business entity has no contract with the state. So I've been telling people about this, and as you know, we talk about the legal name registration a lot. You are the only person that Gabriel and I know who actually understands the concept of it and is doing it properly, and it's really a liberating thing when you become free. And you're no longer tied up in this fictional world of commerce in which living men and women have no place.
Mm-hmm.
it really is liberating, and I get the concept, but there's definitely like the fine print I am still sorting out.
Yeah, well,
You know, but
that comes with time. It was the same with us.
Yeah.
It took us the better part of a year
Yeah.
for it to fully sink in for us, and
We're still
that's
learning.
Yeah, we're still learning just like you are, and I think that would be the case with anyone. And just to clarify, you mentioned ANC, and I just want to say that stands for Assumed Name Certificate,
Right.
which is the document that makes this whole thing so in the eyes of the law.
Yeah.
And that's why the whole sovereign citizen movement completely has it wrong.
Right.
It's not just enough to say that first, middle, last name is not you. That's not enough.
You got to make it legal.
You
got
have
to make it legal.
You have to take an additional
Yeah.
step, and Holly, that's what you did, and
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. It's there's nothing like having that separation and realizing that you are completely free and your business entity is not in contract with any
Mm-hmm.
of these businesses that previously were just going hog wild with exploitation.
Right, and to clarify, everything in commerce is fiction, and that includes all of this stuff that we think of as politics. It doesn't exist. All of these are just business entities. The state, the city, the country, the United States Incorporated, it's all business. Nothing's personal, it's all business, and we don't have to have contracts. We are living men and women. We don't have contracts at
can't.
all. Our
doesn't
business
exist.
entities don't have to be contracted. So when people say the birth certificate is really a death certificate, it's not.
Nope.
Because that name's not you. The birth certificate
It's
is
your game
it's your
piece.
game piece. Exactly.
It's your game piece that they give you
at
at birth to operate legally in the fictional realm of commerce.
and now you're doing it.
And the people who say that the birth certificate is the death certificate are just as wrong as the sovereign citizens
Yeah.
who just citizen means employee, by the way.
Well,
So-
it's just a bunch of misdirection.
Yes.
And what I'm so proud of you, Holly, that you did this. And I'm really glad you're able to explain it to our listeners, because you're really one of the few that has taken this grand step towards freedom. Between this and the Orgonite and your natural abilities as a healer, your intuition about these energetic levels that most people don't even perceive, it's like you're in the stratosphere.
You're well on the way to being on their terrorist watch list, if you're not already.
Well, that is my goal. I have to thank you guys though, because you guys literally were the parents that held my hand. So, no, if it wasn't for you guys, sitting down over some Stumptown Guatemalan coffee, thank you, and
the highlight of our
literally-
visit.
so delicious, thank you, and literally sitting down, having us manipulate the field to get the names right, and walking me through every step, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So thank you guys.
Oh,
Well, it is very difficult.
you're welcome.
So it seems overwhelming, but yeah, once you do it, it's just Pandora's box is open.
Yeah.
It's the world is your oyster.
Well, Holly, I hope that you'll come back and talk to us about your court experience too, and how you use
would-
this ANC in court.
I would love to. One last thing about getting towed is, of course, I had my driver's license because I haven't been able to let go of that yet, just in my mind. But when I went to pick up my car, the lady asked for my license, and I said, I don't carry a license. Here are my papers, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And she's like,
What have I done?
oh. Right? And I've never seen these. And, I had just gotten my papers. I literally put them in my purse like 3 days before, I think. It was so ironic.
Wow.
And I just said, these are my papers. This is who I am. And I just handed them over, knocked on some wood. And she's like, okay. She wrote some stuff down. And I was like, oh my God, what's going on? And unlocked the gate, gave me my car. I never had to show any form of picture ID.
Wow,
I didn't
this
have
is
to.
great.
There
Thank
you
you
go.
for sharing that, because I haven't been in the situation yet. But this is great news for everybody. So I'm excited to hear about your courtroom experience and how you use your standing. You have standing that no one else has. So it's exciting to hear. And
I just I hope Oregon's judges can grasp what's really going on.
They'll know. They know. Once they see that Holly Marie Cook is a business,
Yeah.
it changes the game. And you've got standing. So that's very exciting news. And eventually I'm going to give up the driver's license. I still have mine. I renewed it in 2013 and it's still valid. I don't know what I'm going to do when that renewal comes up next year, but the only reason I keep it is so I can rent a car because the car rental companies don't understand the law. And they insist on the in the driver's license.
Well, that's the thing that I always tell people is that some flunky, shuffling papers on a desk, they're not going to know what the ANC means.
Right.
But once you go high enough, you get to the people who they see that form and they don't want you anywhere near their courts because this is suppressed information. They give you the game piece,
Right.
but they don't tell you how to use it.
Right.
And there's a reason for that.
Right. Well, Holly, I just wanted to ask you what's next in your work in Portland. You've got your personal practice of healing individuals and you've got your planetary healing. So where are you going from here?
Are you going to make your husband shovel out the driveway?
Right?
Yeah, now you've got snow on top of everything.
It's interesting. Most of the people I'm working with, worked with a woman today from Colorado. Most of the people I'm working with aren't from Portland. I haven't put my foot in the door here yet, but I'm planning on opening an office next year and just going for it. I do have a retreat in February, at the end of February, beginning of March, with Laura Eisenhower and Lori McDonald on Kona, Hawaii. So
Oh,
I'm
wow.
hoping that the whole retreat thing will unfold and that I'll just keep expanding out. And I do plan on actually advertising it here, but I have to change all my business cards because I'm not Holly Cook.
Right. That's just fine. We had to do the same thing, and it's a great feeling, really.
It's a small
It's
price to pay.
Exactly. Well, Holly,
Absolutely.
your website is sacredheartascension.com. And so if people can go there to learn more about your practice and what you do to help people overcome trauma. And we're really thankful that you could join us today for this weather war and etheric war update from Portland. It's funny to call it a war because actually it's really peaceful, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
And congratulations on being our first female 3-time guest.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love coming on here. I really appreciate you guys so much. And I just hope that you guys can come back up here anytime. The door is open.
Awesome. Well, we're
So-
planning on it. We've got some mayhem planned for the spring, so we're
We
going.
always have mayhem
Yeah,
planned.
got some craziness.
Well,
We're gonna bring it with us.
Well, unless you have change or snow tires, I probably won't see you this winter.
We do.
We do because we live in the mountains now. We're ready to go, but we have plans to come up to Portland in the spring. Very specific plans, and we will be sharing those as the months go by. And
Right.
much more gifting to do as well. And we're going to be doing some gifting with you when we come up.
And we'll have our ANCs with us.
Excellent.
Always. Several copies, in fact, just in
Yeah.
case the cops decide to keep one. Well, in case the cops ask for
Oh.
one,
Yeah.
because they might.
Yeah, you hand it to them, and they're like, what assume name?
Well, I
system?"
don't actually think they could do that. But, you never can be too safe.
You
so
never know.
I'm the kind of person that keeps multiple copies of things on hand. So we'll be coming up to Portland, and we'll
Right.
be safe. And we're going to be going on into Washington because Washington State desperately needs Organite. So that is the next stop.
Whole lot of towers up
Yeah.
there.
Yep. Well,
I'm
Holly,
excited.
I am excited to come back up, and thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be speaking with you again very soon.
Thank you, you guys. Have a really good night.
Thanks,
You too. Thank you, Holly.
All right. Talk to you guys soon.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you for listening to this special report from the Human Frequency. We'll be taking the rest of the year off from our radio show, but we'll be back in 2017. You can keep up with us here on YouTube until then.
That's youtube.com/thehumanfrequency, and our website is thekembo.com, where you will find links to the YouTube channel, our Etsy shop, as well as our blog, where we'll be documenting the weather war into 2017.
We're documenting the weather war every day here in Southern California. Thanks for listening, and see you again next time.